tell me what to do. Just tell me what to do with your love. If there's nothing left to
Welcome. This is the Simply King podcast, and it's your boy Rodney Perry King himself, and you just tuned into the Soulfully Conscious podcast for humans, simply being humans. And I want y'all to understand something. We are back yet again. I'm not sure if I've hit a milestone yet. I feel like I'm a good maybe 8 to 9. I'm almost at 10 episodes of visual aspects on YouTube. So I'm a celebrate. Do I got a noise for that? I think I might have a noise for that. Do I got a hand clap? Let me get an applause. Yes. Don't even know what the number is, but I'm gonna put it in the edit. You feel me? But if you don't know, you should know. This is the Soulfully Conscious podcast for humans, simply being humans. I'm Rodney Perry, also known as King. And today, I wanted to talk about a topic that was actually inspired by my friend Sharae. Shout out to Sharae. We had a really great conversation last night, and genuinely didn't know what I wanted to kind of record for you guys this week. And I was just like, and she asked me, have you did an episode on boundaries? I was like, have I? She was like, well, I'm asking you. And I was like, I couldn't genuinely remember. And if I have, I literally have, I'm about to hit 180 episodes. If not, this is the 180th episode. I'm not sure. Either way, I've been doing this for years. You feel me? But it's funny because actually, Lily just, several weeks ago when I did the Men Be Sharing episode, which you should definitely check out. Making sure I put the little link right here. Make sure you check that out. There's a visual component to that as well. And it was inspired by, that Reddit post essentially about men sharing things that they wish women knew. And my SendItON call to action at the end of that episode was essentially, hey, you should write down your boundaries. You should write down all of your boundaries and put them in these particular categories. You can see it. Go check out the clip on my IG pages. But I was like, yeah, I gotta go more in depth though. I gotta explain more about this and also give a testimony and hopefully help somebody really understand why this is something they need to prioritize, not just for relationships, but for their life and for their own sense of self-being and growth and a self-awareness. It's necessary. It's so necessary. And I really want men to really understand how necessary this is for us as well, because I don't believe men have a good sense of awareness. I think we have an awareness that feeds into, how can I say, being this kind of quote unquote manly man, but we don't have awareness when it comes to really feeding into ourselves and being also able to feed into other people, to be considerate. I don't think, due to patriarchy, I don't think discernment is something that men are always heaviest on. And we can do better with that. And I want us to do better with that. And I'm trying our best. While I'm trying to figure this shit out, I'm going to impart some tips, some hacks, whatever you want to call it, to y'all. Hopefully that we can get it all together and get better together. All right? But let's start with the Twitter check-in. All right. So what I'm trying to figure out is I'm going to pick selected tweets. I'm going to search the word boundaries on Twitter. And I want to shout out a few of those, profiles who tweeted just certain things, just to get a taste of what people are talking about when it comes to boundaries. And then we can tap on into all the other things. You feel me? First thing that I've seen already right on the top was from @Bigger. You've been on Twitter for so long. Had to be. Keep your heart soft and your boundaries strong. Beautiful message. Think that's very clear. Very, right on the money. And then you have, because when you be searching stuff, it's like crazy. Okay, a great one. Now this is a quote tweet, so I'm gonna read both. First tweet is from All Eyes on Me. 93. Oh my God. I'm so glad I'm so glad I tapped on this. I'm gonna definitely show y'all exactly this tweet. So there was this viral post that was posted by a mom discovering, I'm not sure how old her son was, but essentially she just discovered a sleeve. You know what I'm saying? A sex toy of sorts. And she essentially posted all of these things online. You know what I'm saying? Talking about he got this little, little pussy, and then, he got some arousal, he got some lube, you know what I'm saying, that he uses. Talking about he put his little thing in this little thing. I'm gonna show y'all. I'm gonna show y'all the post and all that, but this is what the tweet says. The quote tweet to this is, "Black parents ain't got no boundaries." Now, I don't know why he made it black, because I think a lot of parents might not practice good boundaries because they're our parents, but we're gonna tap into that a little bit more later too. I gotta make sure I bookmark these. And then lastly, she took over. See, this is right on time, because her tweets took over everything on here. I would say that, yeah, I think that's enough. I don't want to keep searching and looking. I want to kind of tap into this. So let's talk about what boundaries are first, just so we can level set. So the definition of just boundaries is really just something that indicates a limit, or an extent of something. You can go all the way to this point. You can't go past this point. The literal definition of what boundaries are. But then you have such things as boundaries within our own personal lives and within our communication and relationships with other people. And it's essentially just practicing openly communicating and asserting personal values as a way to preserve and protect against having them compromised or, violated in any way, shape, or form. So I think it's really interesting that, we have to make that distinction. We have to kind of call those particular things out. We got to know what these are the lines. We have to draw the lines in the sand for ourselves so that we know exactly what and how to move and how to be with each other, around each other, and with ourselves. Boundaries are for you, man. You're not keeping things out just solely to keep things out. You're also protecting yourself. You got to understand that. The first thing I'll say is, it's okay if you don't know what your boundaries are. The call to action that I gave on the Men Be Sharing episode will help you figure those things out. Put them in categories, write them down, keep them in your notes app on your phone. They should always be with you. And it's almost like studying. You know how when you were in college or when you were in grade school, all these different things, a lot of people aren't great studiers, but the things that I do believe are components of most people, no matter how you study, is usually you read something, usually you recite something, usually you write something, just so that you can really and truly retain the knowledge of whatever it is that you are studying. So when it comes to you and writing down your boundaries, what happens is you have to now think and assess and take the information in. You have to read yourself, write those things down, and then read them. So now when you are in situations, let's say most popular topic is always about relationships and love. If you're talking to someone, in this new connection, you should be having these types of conversations if you notice that this is becoming a consistent thing. As soon as it starts becoming a situation where y'all talking 7 days a week and y'all, going on dates consistently, that's when the conversations got to keep coming. And they start small. They can start small. I think people always make the conversation of boundaries into something that is so serious and critical and stark. And just, we about to be uptight. We about to be real tight in the ass with this conversation. And that it doesn't have to be that way. It can genuinely just be a constructive exchange about who you are, and what you will take and what you won't take in terms of the interaction of this status of whatever it is that we are doing. It's really all that is. But you got to study yourself. You got to research you more than anything. Because when asked those questions, which is almost like a test of who you are. How well do you know yourself from someone else? If you don't really know how to answer those things, or they're really not consistent, or that's really not the full scope of what you really feel because you're in the moment, you're emotional, you feeling it, you don't want to say the wrong thing, you haven't allowed your representative to leave yet, because you still want to continue making this first impression, all those things. You have to know within your heart of hearts what your boundaries are and keep those things on you. You got them. You know what they are. You're very clear and very understood. You've studied this. You've wrote them down. You've crossed them out. You've changed them. You update them. You do all the things because you know your shits. So it's okay if you're listening to this episode and you truly feel like you don't even know what your boundaries are. Because in all honesty, I feel like I was operating in relationships without boundaries for years. For years. In multiple relationships. And I'm going to tell you what happens. And a lot of men maybe have done this and maybe still do this. A lot of women possibly do this as well and within their relationships. What I believe I did was came at relationships without this idea of what my own boundaries were. And because I'm a man, because I'm straight, because I'm dating women, what happens is I'm the one who's setting the tone. I'm the one who's setting the tone. Miss Lady on the other side of me really might know exactly what she will take and won't take, but also too, she likes my ass. She really do. She's really attracted to me and she really wants this to go somewhere. So she's going to see where this goes. She's going to vibe this shit out. You know what I'm saying? And going off of vibes and flow aren't really conducive to if you really want to have something to somebody. You got to lay the things down. You got to lay down the foundation. You got to put up the boundaries and be aware of where they are. And I believe what I was doing was coming in without knowing and expressing my boundaries. So it created this situation where it just reciprocated and echoed right back to me. So if we having fun, I'm coming over, I'm popping up, I'm doing whatever, and you like me. Think about like Darius Love Hall just popping up on Nina. That's some stalker shit. But she thought he was a little attractive, thought he was a little cute. She might not have been in the space really to assess if she really wanted to give him the time of day, but ultimately she let this man into her house and some more shit, and she don't know him from Adam and Eve. But that's what we do. And then we go off the flow. And what happened with them? They went on a date, they fucked it, and it happened. They was jonesing. That's the situation I feel like I was in. And I think it can still come out to be beneficial within y'all relationship, even if y'all have this magnetic connection and y'all start vibing real strong and real heavy and y'all start really, making the things and creating experiences with each other. What still has to happen is the discussion of your boundaries, because what's going to happen is, and trust me, this is a personal testimony, once you start frequently communicating and frequently being in the same spaces with each other, what's going to occur is the boundaries that you don't even acknowledge about yourself are going to come up. They're going to come up and you're going to say something about them. So imagine if I'm setting the stage and setting the tone for me and a woman in a relationship, that we are in this free-flowing field of fucking lilies and daffodils, just running and having sex and having a good time. It's limited food and good times and just great ideas and exchanges and laughs and da-da-da. It's all positive. And then I start telling you no. Then I start telling you I don't like that. Then I start saying, well, I don't want you to do that for me. I don't want you to do that. I'm not going to do that. All these different things. And then it starts to, shake up what this connection is, because it's like, what? How are you, what? Where's this coming from? What is this? And the fucked up part about it is you can vibe out. You can flow for months before that first thing comes up to where you finally say something. And I don't think that's intentional self-advocation. I think that's more so you just reacting and being triggered and projecting what it is that you really haven't acknowledged with yourself out to whoever this potential, partner is for you. And then that those first few months are vital to, to the success of the relationship in a lot of ways, because it sets the tone. And it really truly assesses, like, how many times do we have to reset the tone? How many times do we have to refresh what we got? You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to continuously do that. You want to be able to build. You don't want to have to be like, all right, let's wipe this shit off. Let's start over. All right, let's wipe this shit off. Let's start over. You don't want to keep doing that. So go into it already knowing what your boundaries are, already understanding what you need, what you don't need, already understanding what you will allow and what you won't allow. And also be very, very attentive to what they say, what the other person says, that their boundaries are. Don't just pontificate on what yours are. Make sure that you are also receiving theirs and really taking them in, making note of them, and also keeping them in mind. And y'all having that exchange and y'all build. It doesn't have to be this long-winded conversation. It can be one that goes on, but it's setting a tone of expression. It's setting a tone of vulnerability. It's setting a tone of you understanding who I really am. And it's vital. It's extremely vital. You know what I'm saying? I believe that the aspect of the definition of, the practice of setting your boundaries, the key points within the definition is communicating, openly communicating, and asserting what it is that, you have to talk. And that's, I think, a vital thing that a lot of us don't do. You cannot just have boundaries and be aware of your boundaries and never speak to them. And also, it's not good if you wait for somebody to almost cross your boundaries or, to try to compromise or violate your boundaries in some way, shape, or form. And that's when you say something, because that's not going to be good either. And trust me, I've been there. I've done it. We all getting better, y'all. We going to be good. We going to be all right. We know now. We going to get better. God is still working on us. You feel me? So I feel that is the key point with all this that I'm saying. If you don't take anything, take away, you must communicate, and more than anything, assert. Assert. Assert is a new position. Assert ain't sitting back waiting. Assert is being forward thinking, being proactive, being about your own protection of peace and mind, because you want this to work. And I want you to know how this can work by doing these things. And you have to continuously speak to these things until you feel like you've expressed all the boundaries that you are aware of yourself at this current point in time. And as they change, as y'all grow, and as y'all have, these conversations will be so normal. Hey, I think I got a new thing that I feel like I want to, be consistent with, or a new thing that I feel like I don't want us to do, or a new thing I don't want to do anymore, because I don't think that that's me. I don't think that's who I'm becoming. And I don't feel like it's useful anymore. These types of things are the things that you can say to really vocalize exactly what you feel about yourself to your partner, and it makes sense because it's coming from a space of love and expression. How can you not receive that, take that in, and see that as something that is necessary, that is vital to the overall relationship that y'all live in? It's that simple. It's that simple. But a lot of us, especially, in our early 20s and, mid 20s, and not even at any stage of life, we love, especially dating is, it has its ups and downs. And when we feel like we finally found somebody we can really vibe with, that kind of crosses our T's and dots our I's, we don't want to make it serious. We don't want to talk about certain things. But I believe if we study ourselves, if we have the comfortability to understand that these things are beneficial to the overall success of this great new connection that you've made, then it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be cool. You know what I'm saying? And it takes away this negative connotation to the baggage that you come with, to the history that you have, to the mental health. Your mental health history, your health history, all these different things about who you are. It takes away this stark and serious aspect to it, because it's something that you just vocalize, and that's like, these are just what I know of myself. This is what I've grown to. This is what it is, and this is what it ain't. And I love you. Or not, because it is pretty new. I also feel like a lot of these things have to be happening early. If you are a year into your relationship and talking about boundaries, it's already looking bad. I've been there. If you're talking about boundaries intently and specifically, like, hey, I want to have a conversation about our boundaries, you sometimes got to phrase it in that way. You can't just beat around the bush and make it seem like we're just having all these cute little, conversations. Make it very clear, like, hey, this is a boundary. And the boundary doesn't have anything to make you seem like you are a bad person for, maybe not agreeing with them or not understanding them or not knowing them up until this point. Any of that. Like, I get it. You might have taken a little bit too long to finally start having these conversations, and now y'all picking up the pieces. It is what it is, and I have I have the most hope and faith in whatever it's supposed to be is going to be with the both of y'all. But nevertheless, we have to assert and communicate and be forward thinking. And fellas, this is a key relationship hack. It's a key relationship hack, and I'm gonna tell you why. I hear men online, I hear men with microphones who have big platforms, all different types of things, speak as if men come from this space of not being able to do so much. We can't do nothing. We can't talk to women any type of way. We can't do this. We can't talk to women how we want. We can't do this. We can't do that. The way that men think is wrong, and all of our opinions are wrong, and women run the house and da-da. I want y'all to understand something. I think a lot of men have opted into this idea of, and I've talked about this, shout out to Paulette, who had me on her podcast, and I think it's In the Mix, and I was telling her about the concept of, why the happy wife, happy life concept is really not helpful for both the man or the woman or whoever it is within this particular relationship. It's not a matter of being, just making one of your spouses happy by any means. Because you're sacrificing your own agency, you're sacrificing your own personality. You're not just a husband. You're not just this person who's just supposed to provide and protect. You are still, you're Sean. You are Sean. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not the husband, the father, the caretaker, the blah, blah, blah. You are Sean first. So Sean has boundaries. Sean has personality. Sean has all these things, right? And shout out to you if your name is Sean. But I want men to understand that we have to self-advocate more often and better. If we know we have a problem with something that has some sensibility and some reasons, speak to them. And sometimes it may not even be quantified as reasonable to the person on the other side of you, but come on now, let's keep it a bean. If you have this unreasonable thing and every time you speak to it and everyone seems to always react, it might not be them, my guy. You might have a very hard and unreasonable boundary that you've said that really better yet, if you're going to commit to it and be okay with it being something that is going to take a long time for you to find somebody who respects and wants to meet that particular boundary. Because I think it's okay if you express all these boundaries and somebody wants to go or somebody wants to discontinue what this connection is because that's not something they believe they can do. That's not something they believe that they can have the actual capacity to do because it's something they've never even had to do before or whatever the case may be. Fellas got to self-advocate. Get into it. Now, in that conversation I had with Sharae, she said something that was really deep to me. She asked me, can boundaries conflict? And I was kind of, paused. And I was like, you know what? I believe they can. But I think that's the opportunity for compromise and or releasing whatever this connection is. Because these things should be happening early on. I think a lot of the issues and problems that a lot of people have in lingering in long-term relationships that are kind of tumultuous throughout is that there's this consistent telling of things that were already things. Your boundaries were there prior to you even meeting this person, and now you're telling them a year into your relationship. And you're trying to figure out why they get on your nerves. It's because they never knew what not to do. They never knew that this was a thing for you. They never knew. So, what do you do with that? I believe what you have to do is truly take it upon yourself to look at what it is and see if both of you can negotiate and compromise on this particular boundary that seems to be hitting each other. As simple as that. Like if you feel like, I think the example I gave is if, I said, so you saying like, let's say if a woman has a boundary that she don't like men to sleep over on some Nola Darling type shit, we can hook up, we can da-da-da, but you cannot stay. Let's say that man really has let's say he has a particular issue about his own rest and his sleep or some shit like that, and he works late. And so you come over at 1 because that's when you get off, that's when you're available, that's when she allows for you to come over. And you like, I literally, can just stay and leave. I don't want to have to like be, come to your spot, do what we do, and then I got to leave at 3 a.m. because you don't let me stay over. But that's her boundary. You can try to defend this to be a boundary of yours, feeling like, if I'm coming over after a particular time, I don't like to leave. I don't like to It's gonna make me get, I feel like I'm gonna be driving. I'm gonna get sleepy. That's gonna put myself in danger. All these different things, valid to a certain degree, but there's also some room for some compromise within that situation. It's like for her, it could be an idea of, well, for this not to be a thing, we have to further progress within this. For him, it may be, well, maybe we need to only link on my off days or certain things like that so I can, spend more time or be able to get away or kind of align my schedules a little bit differently so we can link when we can link. So suggestion, but that's just, a random example. It continues on with so many different things. If you realize that there's something that you need and that you require out of somebody and they need and require something out of you, and you feel like those two things really don't go together, it truly might be a sign that this might not need to be a thing. And that's okay. Because like I said, this should be happening in the beginning when it's very easily broken, and it might not be something that you really want, but I think we have to get away from the idea of like, yes, dating may be hard for a lot of us, but we have to get away from the idea that every time we make a connection, it's going to be the next big and long-term connection that we're going to have forever. We're not that fortunate. That's not how it works. You might have had what you have with that person. You might have had this cool vibe, this cool situation of, we doing our thing, you know what I'm saying? We vibing out, we having sex, we eating, we going places, we doing the things. And then we keep having these conversations and we realizing like how much of what it is that you believe and I believe aren't things that we can truly sustain. We gotta let it go. And that's okay. Just let it go. Just let it go. All right? Y'all can do it. I believe in you. But this isn't one that I wanted to drag on too long because I feel like I want to just give it to you straightforward. I'm going to give y'all the rest of y'all time. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. This is a solo episode, so I'm not going to keep talking for a whole nother 30 minutes. Y'all know that. Well, I ain't going to say y'all know that because if you've been listening to me for years, you know I can talk my ass off. But to conclude, boundaries are necessary. They are necessary. You are a temple. You are a temple. A structure of being filled with value, substance, and love. And you should protect that. You should fortify that. You should make sure that everything is where it needs to be and everything that doesn't need to be isn't even coming into your space, isn't even coming into your whole sense of awareness. You don't need the bullshit. You understand? You don't need it. You don't need it. You don't need it. Like SpongeBob said, I believe in y'all. But let's send it on. Let's send it on. The send it on for today is simply I want y'all to assess. I want y'all to assess the relationships that y'all have with, assess the boundaries that you have set currently with your parents, your parent figures, your friends. Because if you've done the first call to action that I gave you guys a few weeks ago, make sure you do that first. Write down your boundaries, put them in categories because those are certainly, I feel like, a lot of people may gear those to, their romantic relationships, but they're general too. They should be general. They shouldn't just be for who you might date. They should be general. But I want you to go and set and assess these boundaries that you've already set with your parents, or if you've never set them with your parents. with your friends. And I want you to make sure that you start expressing those things. Start having those conversations and opening up that dialogue, and also to be prepared to receive what theirs are. Put it on them. Put it on their heart to say, hey, I want you to tell me what yours are. I want you to let me in on what your boundaries are, because I want to respect you and love you and care for you better, differently. It's that simple. That's the Send It On. I hope that it's one that you can, make some time for and do. You feel me? Now, I may not know everything, but I feel like we all can get better together. And I appreciate you all for listening. I appreciate you all for watching. If you're watching this, make sure that you like, rate, and subscribe. This is a passion of mine, and it's one that I care so much about, and it's one that I want to continuously get better with and add new voices and highlight new perspectives. So every time you view this, every time you keep coming back, every time you share this, it means the world to me. So make sure that you like, rate, subscribe. If you're listening on any of the DSPs, make sure that you leave a review. If you're watching on YouTube, I want you to make sure that you drop a comment. Let me know what you feel. Let me know if you feel like these things are helpful. Let me know what you want to see from me. You understand? Make sure you can follow me anywhere at Kings_Memoirs. And also follow the podcast at Simply King Pod. You can truly listen anywhere. You can ask Alexa, play Simply King Podcast, and she will do it. I'm on all the things, so you can find me wherever you can find me. And I appreciate you for watching all the way to this point. And even if you stopped prior to, I appreciate it anyway. All right. This is the Soulfully Conscious Podcast for Humans, simply being humans. This has been, a conversation about boundaries. and this has been Simply King. Peace.
Got to wanted it known. I